council are here and accounted for, with the exception of Mr. Diaretta. Mr. Mako.
Yes, Your Honor, I make a motion we excuse Mr. Di Loretto from the meeting this evening.
Second.
It's been regularly moved and second that Mr. Diaretta be excused from tonight's council meeting. Roll call.
Mr. Dressel?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Metcalf?
Aye.
Mr. Paul?
Aye.
Mr. Villamagnum?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
So moved. Mr. Diaretta is excused from tonight's council meeting. Before we continue on, I'd like to remind everyone, if they have a cell phone, to please turn them off or put them in the vibrating position. Also, before we move on this evening, I have circulated to the members of council the committee of council members. Hearing no objections, the committees will stand as I circulated them. Hearing no objections, it is so ordered. The committees are assigned until the end of the year. We'll have our reorganizational meeting at the beginning of the year, the first Tuesday in January. With that, I also would like to take an opportunity to welcome Scott Russell to Steubenville City Council, our new fourth ward council person. I had the honors of swearing you in last week. Look forward to working with you along with the members of council. With that, the purpose of this meeting is to bring forth legislation that will be considered by City Council at a future date. And we'll start off with Mr. Dressel.
No legislation.
Thank you, Mr. Dressel. Mr. Johnson?
Yes, Your Honor. I have two pieces of legislation under planning as a result of the Planning and Zoning Commission last night. First, an ordinance authorizing the city manager and urban project director to advertise for proposals for engineering services for the 2016 Central Business District Streetscape Project. Second, an ordinance authorizing the sale of property at the intersection of Sunset Boulevard and Garfield Avenue to Valley One Community Federal Credit Union in the amount of $101. Also, not out of planning, but I want to sign a resolution for next week honoring the Steubenville High School football team for their successful season, which culminated in a state runner-up.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. We'll continue on to Mr. Metcalf.
Yes, Your Honor. First of all, the Finance Committee, which we just talked about here shortly ago. First one is an ordinance amending ordinance number 2015-50, the existing table of organization of the City of Steubenville declaring an emergency. Second is an ordinance adopting a capital improvement plan for the City of Steubenville for the period of 2016 to 2020 and declaring an emergency. The third one is an ordinance to make temporary appropriations for the current expenditures and other expenditures of the City of Steubenville within the general fund, special revenue funds, capital project funds, debt service funds, enterprise funds, internal service funds, expendable trust funds, and non-expendable trust funds for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2015, and declaring an emergency. Fourth is an ordinance adopting the revenue tax budget for the year ending December 31st, 2016 for the purpose of providing that performance will be specified by plan and projection and declaring an emergency. Fifth is an ordinance amending ordinance number 2014-140 and adopting revenue tax budget for the year ending December 31st, 2015 for the purpose of providing that performance be specified by plan and projection and declaring an emergency. Sixth, an ordinance amending ordinance number 2014-141 to make appropriations for the current expenditures and other expenditures of the City of Steubenville within the general fund, special revenue funds, capital project funds, debt service funds, enterprise funds, internal service funds, expendable trust funds, and non-expendable trust funds for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2015 and declaring an emergency. Lastly, number 7 is an ordinance authorizing and directing the approval of expenditures without a purchase order over $3,000 pursuant to Ohio Revised Code, Section 5705.41. That will be given 3 readings. The first 6 are an emergency, as we have to have a temporary budget in place so we can pay our bills January 1. And the first one on the TO is an emergency because we do have to pay our fire and police for contract, union contract, and to meet a grant to get a person in for Judge Massio. Utilities, we have three pieces of legislation under utilities.
Mr. Metcalf,
Yeah.
before you leave the finance on your item number through, 3, the ordinance to make temporary appropriations.
Yes.
When you read that, and it's also stated in this memo for December 31st, 2015, if I'm not mistaken,
That
that
should be
2016.
2016. Yeah, strike that. That'll be 2016 on that one. On there. On utilities, I'm going to work backwards real quickly. We talked about in the budget, as a council, of recommendation from the finance office and our city manager to move $5 out of the refuse and move it over to the water fund to help stabilize that fund. I'm going to introduce 2 ordinances that will have 3 readings, so we'll go into next year for the utilities committee and council to continue to address, but we'll put it on the table based off of the administration's request. So that will be, the first one will be an ordinance amending section 951.11 of the codified ordinances of the city of Steubenville, be given 3 readings. Second will be an ordinance amending section 921.04 of the codified ordinances of the city of Steubenville. That will also be given 3 readings. Last thing on utilities, I'm going to read the legislation, and I would like Chuck Murphy to explain this, because this will also be in the 3 readings that will be moved to next year for consideration as well. But it's an ordinance authorizing designating the city manager as a local official with the authority to execute the project known as State Route 7 and Logan Street water line upgrade, city project number 2015-119, and completing all necessary functions that may be required to complete said project, including but not limited to engineering design services, right-of-way services, including acquisition of right-of-way, utility relocation, construction, administration, inspection services, bidding services, advertising for bids for construction, any rebidding that may be required, entering into a contract with the lowest and most qualified bidder, and authorizing payment therefore. So at this time, I'd like to have Chuck Murphy, our utilities director, explain this to council.
This is a water line that actually runs from the east side of Route 7 to the west side of Route 7. It's a low pressure line, 6-inch. It goes through concrete encasement. Within that encasement, under Route 7, on the east side of Logan Avenue in Route 7 intersection, it actually is leaking actively. It's also created a void underneath the roadway at that point, and it's currently leaking into this sewer system there. It's taken us a bit of time to be able to get the design control plan and things of that nature, because we are talking about Route 7. So it is something that is very important to us. We want to make sure that we get that issue addressed. The project would end up having it to where we would bore a new line underneath Route 7 to the other side, make the connections on both sides, and take care of this problem.
All right. If I may ask, real quick, Chuck, now that you got everything in place, this legislation could be in front of council and finalized in January next year. What is your time frame of this project?
To be perfectly honest with you, I don't have that with me. Being on vacation this particular week, I apologize. Anyhow, what it comes down to is after those 3 readings, I do believe we start in February, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, we'll start advertising for the project for bids as quickly as possible, and we won't move into a contract until after, I believe it's February 22nd would be the earliest. That'd be the 6 weeks plus the other 4 weeks, I believe. That may be the date.
All right, that's it under utilities, Mayor. One last one under service, and I will have Mr. Dolak, our city engineer, go over our downtown sign project. That's what this ordinance deals with. It's authorizing and designating the city manager as a local official with the authority to execute the project known as the City of Steubenville Downtown Sign Upgrade, city project number 2015-127, and completing all necessary functions that may be required to complete said project, including but not limited to engineering design services, construction administration, inspection services, bidding services, advertising for bids for construction, any rebidding that may be required, and entering into a contract with the lowest, most qualified bidder, and authorizing payment therefore. And I'd like to have Mr. Dahlman talk about this project.
This is the start of like a phase one of the upgrade of our signs throughout the downtown. To upgrade signs at intersection with new poles, new stop signs, they could have one-way signs, street name signs. You average anywhere between $1,200 and $2,500 an intersection, depending on how many signs. We have quite a few intersections in the downtown, so this will be phase one of the project. I'm allocated about $36,000 next year. Phase one will consist of starting in the core business district, probably working from South Street up to North Street and maybe 3rd Street up to 7th Street. This is the first phase of the project. Is there any questions?
Remind me, our issue is primarily your missing signs, out-of-date signs, or not meeting the reflectivity standards, or all of the above.
All of the above. All of the above. Thank you. Any questions?
Yeah. Would that include this parking lot up behind here?
No, it will not. It will include like stop signs, street name signs, one-way signs, do not enter signs, lane use signs that are over top of, if you have a left turn or a right turn, that will be those types of signs.
We won't have signs, on the street saying municipal parking.
No, it will not. No, it'll have to do with just street name signs.
And that's in the central business district?
Well, I thought it would be best to start in the core central business district, and then depending on what the prices are, once we get the design done, we can work our way out. That may include more areas. It's just, there's quite a few intersections in the downtown, and I think the entire downtown is estimated to right around $100,000 to do all of it. We'll try to break it up into 3 phases.
But do you know where we're at with that signage for the parking lot?
No, I do not. That wasn't, I don't really know anything about it. Thank you.
So Bob, I can ask Mr. Baird that, I don't know, Chris, wayfinding signage,
I know Bob.
can you comment on that?
I know that's been identified as a need, and Bob has been working on that. Bob will be able to tell you about a time frame.
I'll be happy to ask Director Baird, Councilman, to accept comment on that.
Anything further, Mr. Metcalf?
Your Honor, that's all I have this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Metcalf. We'll continue on sunshining of legislation to Mr. Paul.
Yes, Your Honor, I have one under safety. An ordinance adopting the emergency operation plans for the city of Steubenville. As you know, Chief Capaldi and Shamita Smith, our health director, have been working on this for quite some time now. And I spoke with the chief this morning, and I asked him if he wanted this as emergency. He said, no, right now we have an old one that we're going under, we're good with 3 readings. And also, would you like to go on, talk about it a little bit more, but you will have copies for the council members. It's a 288-page document. So,
Yes, hopefully everyone got the email with the PDF attachment. We didn't print it out at this time because it's going to go through 3 readings and then be adopted. The council clerk has one bound copy, and if you want, we can print copies out for you, but since it's 282 pages, for right now, we were just giving you the electronic version. And then when it's adopted, we can print as many bound copies as we want. So we're going to go through 3 readings, and all it's going to do is replace the existing plan. It's the rewritten and revised plan that will replace the one that's currently in place. That's it.
thank you. Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Paul. We'll continue on to Mr. Bill Magna.
Nothing this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Bill Magna. Mr. Davis.
I have nothing to see.
Thank you, Mr. Davis.
Your Honor.
Yes, Mr. Metcalf.
Before you move on, discussions here, I'd like to ask Chuck and Tim a question. If we have this leak, and you want us to do this under 3 readings, but we're kind of wasting water, is there ability, would you want us to do this under emergency and or wait the 30 days in order to get this project moving quicker? To stop this.
If council wants to go ahead and do so, by all means, I have no issues with that whatsoever. That would be definitely a good idea if we can.
I mean, water loss is not a good thing.
No,
Sit
the
on
water loss
it
is
for 2
not-
months would not be smart.
Logan Street one?
Yes, the Logan Street.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was that bad.
Yeah, what do we, give us details, in essence, besides what you said, how much, do you have a tracking, how much we're losing?
As far as the loss on it, I'm going to go ahead and estimate right around 50 gallons a minute, as far as that goes, roughly. And it's just a bulk.
Let's get this project done. Is council okay with trying to do this under
Well,
emergency?
I'm going to ask a question quick.
Yeah.
If I have passing on emergency basis, that would, you would be able to start sooner? You would be able to, or?
We would be able to go ahead and start soon as far as getting everything done.
Well, we still have to bid the project out. State law, you still have, the earliest this project will go out to bid will be, I think, January 4th, the 11th, I'm sorry, January 6th, 13th, and 28th. We would still get bids on the 20th, so we wouldn't have bids coming in until the 27th of January.
So if we wait the 30 days.
30 days,
Legislation.
30 days would be fine, and then we can move into a contract as quickly as possible. That would
Exactly.
be 30 days.
I just want to basically get something to you as quick as possible that we can get this.
Administration.
All right, so we'll wait for the 30 days. Okay.
I didn't know it was that bad, I mean, I thought it was one of their future updates.
That's what we're on.
You would actually want to get that.
All right, so that'll be waiting on 30 days. John, thank you for that.
Thank you, Mr. Before we move into public forum, we did have some discussions, and I want to recognize our fire chief this evening. It was to talk about the 8 now fires, or 6 fires within the downtown area. So, Chief, I'm going to turn it over to you, and then we'll follow up with some remarks. Then I would like to also call on Mr. Petrozzi, because most of these are identified of abandoned homes, and some of them did appear on our demolition list, and the timetable and the process on that.
Thanks, Mayor. Basically, I was asked to come and give a report on a couple issues. One of which is the recent fires and the vacant structures we've been having downtown. We had one occurrence back in September, and then we've had 2 occurrences recently on December 5th and December 13th. Total of 7 houses involved, 6 of them on the demo list. Currently, with the leads, information, and evidence we have, we're investigating to the fullest extent we can right now. Our fire inspectors are working with the police detectives. We're working with the state fire marshal. We're working with other agencies that might have some information for us. So the investigation is ongoing. The fact that these were all vacant structures does lead us to believe that there may be someone that is setting fires. We can't say if it's one person. We can't say if it's the same person. But what I can tell you is that since it's a string of vacant fires, it is unusual and something that we're looking at. We're looking at the timelines, we're looking at the locations, we're looking at persons of interest. So basically, a few points to make. The fact that all these houses are on the demo list, I don't believe they're being burned because they're on the demo list. Because one, we've got 90 houses on the demo list. Chances are, if there's a vacant house downtown, it's on the demo list. So no one's specifically going, hey, that house is on the demo list, I'm going to burn it down. I don't believe that's the case. And also, there's no facts to back that up, because one of the houses wasn't on the demo list. So I can't say that we just threw that in there to throw someone off. 2, we have no facts to say that this is any certain type of person doing this. I can't really say that it's one individual. I can't say that they're 3 separate occurrences. I can't say it's an individual that works for this company or that company. So there are no facts supporting that theory right now. What I would say is, I heard it the other day, we do need to be vigilant. If you do have a vacant house in your area, especially if it's close to your house, keep an eye on it. Make sure it's secured. If it's not secured, contact the city, because vacant houses are supposed to be secured. And if we can find the owner, we can cite them and force them to secure it, or we can at least watch it more. Before you go to bed at night, look out the window, see if anyone's hanging around out there. If you see someone, report it. It was noted on the news, that United Way has instituted a weed tip line countywide. It's an anonymous tip line, and any information that is used to get a conviction, they offer a $1,000 reward. It's completely anonymous, and they do it by code. They give you a code number, and if something comes of it, they get a hold of you. So that's one of the things you can do. As far as the investigation and things like that go, there's not a lot I can comment on, but the investigation is ongoing, and we are taking this seriously and looking at all our leads. The second thing I was asked to report on is there's been some comments and questions about hydrants over the past couple days. We had that fire up on 7th Street. We got a call about hydrants on Highland Avenue, up behind the PAC to the north. When you go up Superior, which is right next to the PAC, there's a hydrant at Superior and Highland. When you turn right on Highland, there's no hydrants up to that corner. That's a dead end. There's never been a hydrant up there. But the hydrant at Superior is the one we would use to get up that street. It's less than a block from there to the end of the street. If you go up on Lay Bell, there's a hydrant at every intersection, which is a block apart. So the hydrant at Superior serves that block of Highland. We did go up there today. We opened that hydrant and a hydrant next to it on Highland. They both work. So we verified that those are working, just to try to answer some of the questions that some of the residents up there had. And then there were some other questions about hydrants. In 2014, in the spring of 2014 and the fall of 2014, every hydrant in the city was flowed, and we compiled a database that we gave to water to identify out-of-service hydrants, except for 2 neighborhoods, which were in the West End because there was road construction going on. In the early spring of 15, we finished up those 2 neighborhoods. So, and we usually do this on a biannual, well, every other year. We try to open every hydrant and update this list. So in the spring of 2016, we'll do every hydrant in the city again. 2015, Chuck's been working on fixing as many hydrants as he can. And what we did is we came up with a priority list of, we identified areas where there was more than 1 hydrant out of service. We identified areas like in the Central Business District where there was hydrants out, and he worked on those first. He wasn't going to get them all done, but we got it to the point where if this hydrant's out of service, you can go block either way and find another hydrant, which is acceptable until he gets them all fixed. So as far as the hydrant question goes, we've been working on that. The water department's been doing a good job getting those replaced. And with all the new water projects in town, all those hydrants are replaced with the water line, like on Loretta, Scioto, Harvard. Those all received new hydrants, and we even added a few. So that's pretty much the hydrant report. And then the last thing I wanted to touch on, there was a news story last night and this morning, basically titled "Rumors and Speculation Swirl Over this String of Fires." The story was about rumors and speculations. Never mentioned what rumors and speculations they were. Never gave any facts or figures about them. And basically, all it did, in my mind, was spread even more rumors and speculation. So the one thing that I want to say about that is the rumors and speculation, all that does is make it worse. It's irresponsible, and it may do more harm than good. So when the news contacted me, I said, look, I don't comment on rumors. If you got facts and figures, I'll answer your questions. What they really wanted to talk about was the demo list, and Councilman Bill Magna talked about that. But as far as anything other than that, I have no information on rumors or speculation. I don't believe there is any. And, all the conspiracy theories out there, I don't put much stock in them because I actually know the facts now, and I'm involved in the investigation. But like I said, I listened to that story thinking it was going to be about the demo list, but then they threw in another twist. So I just want to tell you, if you have any questions, you want something cleared up, stop my office. I'll talk to you about it. So, thank you.
Thank you, Chief. I'm talking about the demo list that has been developed, and City Council already approved the bonding of $1 million for the removal of the structures. I'd like to call on Mr. Petrozzi to give us an update on the demolition. And Chris, if you can briefly explain the process for the abatement inspections. And
Sure, I can do that.
thank you.
As you can see from the time frame in front of you, work first started in February 2nd, when the Planning Commission first requested the sunshine legislation authorizing us to advertise for asbestos assessment services. For each building that the city demolishes, EPA requires us to complete an asbestos assessment. With that, a state licensed asbestos assessor goes into each unit, visually inspects the unit inside, it does an interior and exterior inspection, and takes samples of various materials. Those samples are sent to a lab and analyzed, and then after he gets those samples back from the lab, the assessor prepares a written report identifying what contained asbestos and where it was located. So a separate report is prepared for each unit. That process began in February. You can see if you read through the timeline, it continued until the authorization regarding the contract was on June 1st. The contract was finally executed on June 11th, and the consultant authorized to proceed for asbestos assessment services for all the properties. Work continued regarding other demolition-related activities, including ordinances on authorizing the demolition, etc., as well as various advertising. And then finally, on October 21st of this year, we received the final of the last asbestos report from those properties that were on the list. And our goal was to bid them all out together in an attempt to get the best price possible, which I think we did. So the demolitions were let out for bid on October 30th. Bids were opened November 20th. November 23rd, the review of the demolition bids began. And I expect that review to be completed this week, because I know here, just with the sheer number of bids, just going through them and it's taking time. Would I expect the award letters to be sent out Friday regarding the demolitions. With contracts being signed in mid-January and work beginning at the end of January. Regarding what happens after the demolition, again, the city doesn't assume ownership of any of these properties. The ownership remains with whoever is the owner of record, with the county recorder's office. The city will just place a lien on those properties for the full cost, including the asbestos assessment, abatement, demolition, as well as any advertising. So that lien will be placed on those properties for which we are eligible to. But we do not assume ownership of those properties. We encourage people who are interested in obtaining ownership of those properties to attempt to try and obtain those properties through either sheriff's sale or auditor's sale. If properties are not already tax foreclosures that we're demolishing, Eventually, by nature of the demolition of liens, eventually they will become tax foreclosures and then be eligible to be purchased at auditor's sale or a sheriff's sale, or contact the Jefferson County Land Bank, who in some cases may be able to assist with that acquisition.
Any other questions for Mr.?
Councilman Johnson, and the other thing too is Chris and I, in January, will be going over that list and looking for companies or individuals who we feel have other properties in the city that we're going to go after and sue them so that we can lien their other properties too.
The wealthy owners that have the property, we're going to go after them in civil court.
Right, you had brought that up, and Chris and I haven't forgotten, and we'll be reviewing those in January and reporting back to you guys about the lawsuits.
Which brings us really full circle on this particular subject. Once again, the city is taking the role of a property owner, or responsible property owner's task, because they should have this responsibility. But to have a list of 70, 80, 90 homes is pretty healthy list for any community. Council should be commended for approving the bond notes for $1 million to rid of the community of slum and blight. However, let's back up a little bit. Proper code enforcement and citing of the property owners when they have violations will prevent this from happening. So we need to take a look at that seriously and beat that. Mr.
Is there a rough or a set deadline and once their contracts could have it all be completed by?
Yes, once the demolition contractors will have 30 days to start, because there are certain administrative things they need to do require EPA notices. And then, once they begin each demolition, they'll have 30 days to complete.
So we're looking at March-ish for everything to be done?
No,
Way past.
because there's three contractors gave low bids.
Okay.
Two are one is from East Liverpool, Extreme Demolition. The other is RSB Inc., followed by a company named Delaware out of Gibsonia, PA. It's going to take them time to get to address each unit, although they're capable of doing multiple units at a time, and often do. They can't do everything at once.
Okay, so it could actually be next fall still.
Hopefully not by next fall, because we're going to try and push them as fast as we can.
We anticipate earlier than that,
Yeah.
but not as soon as March.
No.
Mr. Bill Magna.
First off, I agree with what you said, Mayor, with that 90 is way too many to be on that list. We got to assure that we never get that kind of list again. Whatever the problem is, we got to find out why and address it, because one of the houses is on Glen Street. You hear about it all the time.
2119.
2005, it was condemned. It's 2015, and it's still not torn down. And it's like number 89 on the list, which I don't understand why it's that far back on the list. Maybe you could,
I don't think the list is in any particular
No,
order.
that list was just wasn't any.
that just lists the house.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
It's
Then
not priority order.
okay. It's not a priority. And the asbestos abatement, that is done by RSV and also
No, it's a firm, MZW.
Well, the asbestos assessment services are done by a private environmental consulting firm that specializes in that, has state licensed asbestos inspectors. The asbestos abatement is subcontracted by the demolition contractor to a state licensed asbestos abatement.
that's their responsibility to do that.
Yes.
The consultant is one that points out the asbestos.
Yes.
He finds the asbestos, says this house has it or doesn't.
Be the chimney.
Yes, he locates it, says this is X number of square feet or X number of linear feet at this location.
The demo company is the one responsible for actually taking out.
Well, the demo
They have
company
to be certain.
subcontracted to a state licensed abatement contractor.
And I read it because I asked for Tom Neal why it took so long. started with that, not through your fault, just I don't understand. We advertised in March for asbestos assessment services. That was the deadline. We got them. The deadline was for April the 16th. Proposals received. And just awful long time there. April 16th to June 1st. There was no action, which there could have been no meeting or something by the planning commission. I don't know.
There were 4 proposals received. Due to the complexity, two of the people on the ranking committee are planning commission members. They just needed additional time to review the proposals due to their complexity.
I guess the true answer is what you said. We got to make sure that they're not 9 times.
And I think also, if I could,
Thank you, Chris.
As Chris pointed out to me, the element of the asbestos inspection, I think has been a challenging. The city hasn't had to do that in the past, and maybe I'm not articulating it right.
Well, the last time that when the city did this, a bond issue for demolition, we were not required by EPA to do asbestos assessments on residential property. So we were, as a result, able to move much faster. The EPA regulations over the course of time have changed, and we're now required to do asbestos assessments on every property.
I think that variable is more challenging. We haven't done this number, I don't believe, Chris. This magnitude of a project, probably another element. And I know that in talking with Chris, and as fast as I would want it to be done, I don't see where that could be expedited at this point. We're gonna certainly encourage the contractors, maybe strongly, to as great a degree as we can to move forward. I know weather shouldn't be an obstacle
No.
to doing that, so we should be able to move forward here very quickly. And as we have been, we've been reporting on the progress at every safety committee meeting, and we'll certainly continue to do that each and every month. And certainly, if anyone has any questions, Chris or I would be happy to.
Mr. Johnson last night attended the meeting and brought up, when the point was brought up about the disconnect of the water from the main to the actual structure. He brought up some concerns, and quite frankly, I expressed some of those concerns a while back, but I have a full understanding of it now since we're doing on the regional planning.
Yeah, I mean, the paper didn't get my concerns actually correct. The paper had me saying our guy should do it as opposed to the licensed plumber. My point last night was nobody should do it. We're going to spend, we got $1 million bond, we're going to spend over $100,000 of that disconnecting water lines that are perfectly good water lines. Some may be bad, but in 2012, council passed an ordinance requiring on any demolition, water lines from the curb box out to the main to be cut. So I think we can't do nothing about that now because that's the law. But that, I think we need to revisit that ordinance because when over 10% of our budget is going to disconnect water lines that could be perfectly fine water lines, I don't think that's an actual correct expenditure of money for a city that's more broke. So.
And that's worthy of a discussion, Mr. Johnson, and I can understand your concern. However, when we were talking about it back when we adopted the ordinance and all, the council and the administration felt that it would be a cost savings, so we don't have to go out and send our water crews when that line, since there's no structure, leaks and the problems and all. But I'm not far from what you're thinking, so I think it's worth the committee after the first of the year to take that.
Chris explained the logic behind why it was adopted, but if 3 lines break, and we have to fix them, that's 97 or 87 we don't have to fix, and we would save money. And the lines are going to break, they're going to break. I mean, but every one of us in there has a line that goes from the main to our curb box. For the most part, none of us are ever going to have that break.
The general cost for that street opening and all is about $1,600.
Right, that's what it goes about. So it's gonna be over 100,000, like the budget's gonna be spent on water lines and houses. And we could probably tear down an extra 10 houses. I don't know if we're gonna get everybody on the list, because last night you mentioned seeing about some CDBG funds possibly being added to the $1 million to try to knock all these down.
Well, I know the Jefferson County Land Bank assumed 6, I believe, off of the city's list that as soon as our plan is in place, we'll move forward with those. Any other discussion on that? Mr.
Just
Bowman?
one more comment that I wanted to make was that when these houses are burnt down, they become totally hot zone.
Well, that really depends. I think Mr. Petrozzi could explain it better, but it depends if the asbestos survey was completed on the home or not. However, if there was no asbestos survey completed and all, it's considered friable material, and it would have to go to a certified landfill. And it adds to the cost tremendously.
Yeah, exactly.
Mr. Petrozzi.
If no asbestos assessment has been completed, if no assessment at all, then it has to be considered hot, and everything goes, as the mayor mentioned, to an asbestos landfill. If an asbestos assessment has been completed and it revealed that there was no asbestos, then it can just go to a regular demolition landfill.
Right.
And so it doesn't.
But if there was asbestos in it.
If there was asbestos in it, then it has to be considered as if the whole thing were asbestos.
And that's another one of my concerns, is that double price. Because if I remember right, Minerva is the only place that has a asbestos site.
Yeah, to give you an example, the 2 homes that caught fire on North 6th Street, 604 and 606, I believe it was, the Jefferson County Land Bank owned that, and for us to remove it, one of them had identified with asbestos, and it was almost 3 times the cost to remove it to a hot landfill, certified. Thank you. Any other questions on this particular subject of demolitions? If not, we will move to public forum. Is there anyone wishing to speak to City Council on city business? Please come forward, state their name and address.
Hello, Ann Sweeney, 710 North Bend. Talking about the fires. I live anywhere from a half a block to 3 blocks away from every single one of these fires. Now, I got up yesterday morning to put my dogs out. I saw smoke. I took off running because I have elderly in that area that are friends, okay? Scares the bejeebies out of me. I'm walking down here tonight to the council meeting, and on 5th Street, there is on the back porch, somebody's burning something in it. The house is vacant, the back door is open, no lights on. So I walked down to look at it. They are burning on a wooden porch in this kettle. So I go around the corner of the firehouse, let them know, they went and investigated it. That could have been number 8. This chip line is the best thing that's happened to this county. You see something, say something. I went in that way to support this. Also, neighborhood watch. A lot of you know, I walk it. Let me rephrase it. I do neighborhood watch. I've been doing it for years. I walk these streets, especially the north end, on a daily basis. I'm talking anywhere from 10 o'clock at night to 6 o'clock in the morning. Because we're the eyes. Citizens are the eyes. We have to help the police and the fire to get these people that are destroying our neighborhoods. You know? These fires are just happening too much too soon. We need the citizens of this community to back them up and let them do their job. Another thing is, I have a question. All the trees on the north end ballpark, the little park down there, all the trees was cut down. Does anybody know why they were cut down?
I don't, Mrs. Sweeney, but I can find out for you.
Okay, because, you know,
I think it was when we... Something about the playground equipment. Put the new playground.
you are?
I want to make certain.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's why I
absolutely,
looked, that's why I looked for Mary Beth, but I think that was
Yeah,
the
that's the
reason.
reason.
The playground equipment is much,
Much bigger?
yeah, it's much bigger.
Yes.
So the north end ballpark is going to get a revamp.
Oh, yes, yeah, that whole thing.
Playground equipment.
Yeah,
It's ready to go.
and you can't use that playground equipment anywhere else, they'll destroy that, because we need another part, and it's nice stuff they have down there. But they destroy that.
They did the same thing at Martin Luther King, but yeah, that was, I do remember that. That's why they took those trees out of there, and I know you're on the tree committee, and I can understand you, yeah.
If you need trees,
I don't want you blowing up there, I understand.
I'll have Mary Beth contact me between two about, any replacement, what the plan is to replace them.
Okay, yeah, because I was just concerned about the kids, summertime, they get out there and they get toasted. But if you're gonna, revamp the whole area and plant new trees, and, because I was even thinking about getting the kids involved this spring, if we want to put little gardens, flower beds or something around there. Make the north end a little bit prettier. That's the first thing people see when they come into town, is the north end. So, and I'm still trying to wrap my head around this one. You sold property for $101 that was worth $36,000 and the city's going broke. Explain that one to me.
The property is out on Sunset.
I know it's at.
All right, it's a hillside. The city has not maintained it in 3-4 years. It's just grown up. If it was worth more than $100, there would have been multiple bidders. The Valley Credit Union is going to take possession of that property, level it, and clean it up to make it beautify the city. You can't build on that hillside. So although the assessment value is $36,000, market value is what somebody's willing to pay for it. And $100, it's not truly $100 because Valley Credit Union is going to expend the money to survey the place, spend the money to level it and clean it up and maintain it. So it does look like we're just throwing money away, but actually, in this case, spending $100 on property value of $36,000 is a good deal.
So they're going to be putting money back into the city.
Isn't there utilities, electrical utilities over there too?
We do have, we have a right of way of, for Chris, 15 feet.
We require that whoever the simple bidder was, to maintain to provide a 15-foot easement along Sunset and Garfield for street utility
And
purposes.
when you factor that easement in there, that property is worth even less than $36,000. But that's not factored in on the county's assessment.
I'll have to start sitting in on these meetings.
And then Valley One Credit Union, also, once it's under their ownership, and they'll be paying the taxes on that property too, now that the city owns it.
Yeah, they're not getting anything. The water leak under Route 7, that worries me. How long has it been going on?
I do believe we had originally found it in the summer around September, yes, this year. And essentially, when we discovered it by the fact that we had a sewer that was overflowing into the river, and we had actually found that our underflow pipe was totally blocked with large rock. So we went looking, of course, with the sewer video cameras, and ended up coming across this old abandoned storm line that nobody even really knew existed still. And essentially what we found was that clay tile pipe was in there, had gotten all broken up, washed all the dirt and rock out of there down into the sewer line. Once we had that assessment, we immediately started making contact with an engineering firm to go ahead and look at the situation, see what we can and can't do. We have to take into account that there are certain laws, rules, and regulations you have to deal with when you're talking about a state route, with State Route 7, things of that nature. And then when you're talking about putting together traffic plans, things of that nature, it's not something you can do haphazard, so you have to go ahead and make sure things are done correctly, because if not, somebody could get hurt or killed in the process. So we got everything together here very recently, and essentially now we're looking to go ahead and proceed forward with getting the project taken care of.
Would there have been a way for you to cut the water off?
No. One of the biggest problems we have in the city is there's a lot of water line valves in the city that do not work, is one. The other part of the equation, and the bigger part of the equation, is that line does go ahead and supply the low pressure hydrants down on 3rd Street in front of the Honda dealership, things of that nature. Plus, there may be some folks that are still tied off of that line, and you would end up putting them completely out of service. So there's certain things of that nature we have to take into account.
Because, if it's eroding under Route 7, you're going to have a potential problem of having to redo Route 7.
It's It's, it's not all the way out into Route 7, it's actually more into the Logan Avenue area of it. It's kind of off the corner a bit. Is it a hazard? Yes, we don't want it to grow, that's the main thing, so that's the reason why we're trying to do
They should
this.
work on it. You know, but if I got a water leak for going on for 6 months, I'd sure as heck try to find some way to fix it.
Definitely.
That's why our water bills are
Thank
so
you.
high.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak to city council on city business? Please come forward, state their name and address.
Yeah, my name is Joe Summerall, 112 Starkdale Road. I was at the meeting last night with Mr. Petrozzi and 5 or 6 of the people from the board. I'd like to clear something up because it was mentioned. We initiated, I've been working on it for about a year, because no one was cutting that lot, and it's an eyesore. If you go past Sunset, you go to Trinity, we've been complaining about it. The city got it deeded to them by the Cohen family, I was even involved in that, for nothing. And these people were from out of town, there was 3 parcels of land, Mr. Petrozzi reported, and I gave a speech last night about that, and I knew there'd be a lot of questions about the $101. As far as I'm concerned, I mentioned it last night, whoever appraised it, I would never get them to appraise land for me. And I don't even know who did. But that man, there's water lines, I think, and there's electrical lines, it's not buildable. We thought we were doing something good for the city because they couldn't maintain it. We're gonna clear it, that was all proposed by our board. We proposed that in our estimate, if you remember. So I just wanted to clear that up. There was nobody trying to get no land for nothing. We were there to help the city, and we're going to do it if they approve it here after you read the ordinance and sunshine in it tonight. Whatever's left to be done, we're going to do it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to speak to city council on city business? Please come forward, state their name and address.
Good evening, I'm Mary O'Connor, 825 Peckman Court. I just have a concern. I'm sure you all know that a teenager was shot last night in the projects. And I'm just wondering if we can work on getting some lighting, better lighting, and use technology, cameras, to get these thugs, find out who they are, get license plates, get them prosecuted. It's just out of control. A 16-year-old girl was sleeping and was shot in the feet. I don't think there's any excuse for that. I think we need to make an effort to do something because this is our citizens, the safety of our citizens, and this involves human life. So hopefully we can look at that. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to speak to city council on city business? Please come forward, state their name and address.
My name's Mike Lipscomb, 234 North 10th Street.
I'm sorry, your last name again.
Lipscomb. I don't know who to address this to, so I'm just going to put it out there. I own a parcel 30 by 100, say a little over 100. It was a distressed property. I bought back in March, and then I totally revitalized it, improved it, turned it into a nice home. Well, 2 houses right next to mine, 232 and 224, are both distressed properties. I tried to acquire both lands as well, but I keep getting run around. Jefferson County Land Bank owns 224 property. It's run down. I mean, the doors are all open, the windows are busted out, the roof's caved in, and it's, you know, it's not secured. There's all kinds of stuff going in and out. There's over 50 cats that live in there. And I want to buy the land and add it on my parcel and actually fix it. But I don't want to rebuild the house. Because I said, I want to just turn it into a nice 2-car garage and extend my property. They said, well, we can't sell it to you. I said, why? I'm trying to improve it. They said, because it's a residential structure, you'd have to build a new home on it. I said, I don't want to put a home. I said, I want to improve it and put a nice 2-car garage and put it part of my land. So they won't get it. So I can't buy an RFA because they won't sell it to me because I won't do it that way. So the other house in between us is owned by the city. But when I go to inquire about it, they say, we don't own it. An owner owns it, it, but it's on the condemned list. But we don't know what's going on with it because he's saying he's gonna fix it, but there's no been improvement since 2010 is when he had it, and he's never improved anything on it. And it's all unsecured and vacant, a tree through the roof, windows busted out. And both of them are dilapidated and vacant by me. And now I got this fire bug in the neighborhood, burning down houses, vacant homes, and I'm now worried about my home that I just put 40 grand into over the last 8 months and put multiple hours of work because I'm a self-contractor. So I do everything myself, and now I fixed up a beautiful home, and now I got these 2 rundown houses that I wanted to purchase, all 3 of them in the beginning, but I can't get them because the city saying they're tearing it down, but it's not being torn down. There's asbestos people's already been in there, checked it out, saying there was a bidder in there for tearing it down, saying, yeah, we got the bid, we're gonna throw a bid out there, and nothing's going on. Then the homeowner's saying, well, it's not on a tear down list. I still own it because I tried to buy it off him, he won't sell it to me. And then the city's saying, well, we're gonna tear it down, and no one knows what's going on. It's getting frustrating because, I want to improve my property in the area around me, but I can't do it because I'm getting run around in different directions and no one knows nothing. So who would handle something like that? And how can I go about acquiring that land and actually improving it?
What was the address of the one you said this?
The land bank?
No, not the land bank, the other one.
232,
232?
North 10.
232 was just recently been out for bid for demolition. And so that property we will be awarding a contract to demolish that.
Now, my question is, this is what I was told by planning and zoning and by the other guys, Anthony Bowden and them. They're saying, well, if the homeowner decides to make a little improvement on it, then we can't tear it down. So if he goes in there and puts one new window in and shows that he tried to improve it, which he hasn't made any improvements since 2010, didn't do anything to it because it was willed to him by his father. And all the neighbors up there saying he ain't doing nothing with it. He drives by the house once a week to check on it, and I try to get it off him every time I ain't selling it. And then
He would have to, when you said little improvement, he would have to improve the complete exterior of the house. He'd have to clear any weeds or
tree out.
He would have to repair the exterior of the home in its entirety. He'd have to secure it either with new windows or by boarding. It would have to be.
yeah, because the roof's caved in, no soffit, no fascia, no gutters, windows are all busted out, vines growing all over the house. I mean, it's just, and there's junk all around the yard. And I got, it's right next to my house, 15 feet away. And not on top of that, but, women of the night, let's put it to you that way, bring their John Does up there and park in front of them. Because I caught them one day, doing, certain things that we don't want to mention.
Contact the police on
And, no, I went out there and actually told them to get the heck out of here. And they I haven't seen that person again, but then a week ago, there was 2 girls up there doing drugs or whatever they was doing, just sitting there smoking in the car, throwing stuff out in the yard. And then there's people that run in and out of these vacant properties every day looking to steal stuff. Because I've caught numerous different cars parking down there, 20 feet from my house. And I'm worried about being these vacant properties so close. What's not to say for them to just come to my house and start robbing my house when I'm not around? And you saying, in this county or the city owns houses, they're supposed to be secured. Well, the land bank owns the one, 224, I think. Don't quote me on the address, it's 220 something. But it's not secured. Doors wide open, 50 or 60 cats. I stopped counting at 37, and there were still plenty more cattle living in and out of that structure, plus they breed and all that. And I mean, they're just all in that structure. And that house is busted out windows, porch roof fell down. I don't know if any one of you guys been up on that street, but if you've seen that property, you know what I'm talking
I
about.
just was
It's
up
right
there.
past the Orthodox Church.
I want to commend you for what you did to that house.
You see my house?
Yeah.
But, like I said, I put about 40 grand into it. I did all the work myself, and it's beautiful. But I still got these 2 properties next to me that's nothing's been done about it. Nothing's being done about it. And then I wanted to buy the land. The land bank wouldn't sell me the one because I wanted to buy the property and fix it up and put a garage there. They won't sell because I want to turn it into a garage.
Who did you speak with at the?
I don't know the guy's name. He was real skinny. Middle-aged, probably younger than me. But like I said, I don't know, he said, what, you know, they were supposed to have a meeting or something. He said, well, I'll address that in the meeting, and then I'll get back to you. But, like I said, it's just, you know, it's frustrating because you got someone like me that wants to improve the area, or my land around my house, and, you know, you guys are selling properties for like $100, and then you guys want to sell me a property to actually improve and make it part of my parcel, and put a nice garage in it, because you're saying it's got to be a residence, but yet you guys are going to tear it down. Makes no sense.
Well, I don't know if you have all the accurate information after the meeting. If you can give me your contact information, I'll follow it up for the Jefferson County landing.
Yeah.
We happen to administer that through regional.
And there's one other thing. There's right across the street from my house is a vacant property. It's not vacant. It's Parks and Recreation on it. It's just a bunch of trees and overgrown grass. Now, I asked Mary Beth, in charge of Parks and Recreation, about buying a 50 by 50 parcel over there, just in front of my house. I don't want to do anything with it. I just want to own it, so no one else could purchase it or do anything, and I will take care of the property. Because I'm looking at, you know, there's no off-street parking. And if most comes down, where I can't get the land on the side of me to put a two-car garage, I'd like to at least put a nice little parking, off-street parking right in front of my house. But, you know, I don't know who to talk to about that. She said, we'll bring it up into the meeting, and maybe they'll be able to show you or address that.
Your Honor, sir, we talked, when we talked after the meeting, and then if you and back to discuss it.
Okay.
And as to the city-owned property that you mentioned, I don't know if you were here earlier, but Ms. Petrozzi mentioned that is on the list and should be demolished within 6 months, the first half of the year?
Yes, first half of the year.
In the first half of 2016.
Now, this is what I'd like to understand is, when you guys do that, why can't you guys take ownership from an owner that is unwilling to fix the house? Why can't you guys repossess the house in a way, or take it over and actually be able to sell the property to somebody that's willing to fix it instead of just tearing it down? I don't know who would answer that.
You raise a good point. I mean, we're
Cost.
going to incur all kinds of costs,
It's cost.
and then we're going to lien it, we're never going to get money back, and then you're going to be able to get it for $100.
Yeah, exactly.
Is there any way we can find
that's
that?
one way.
What the process is as soon as it's torn down, it'll be leaned, and then it'll go up on a sheriff's sale.
There's no mechanism under the law for us to acquire ownership in any other way other than the owner's sale or unless they want to voluntarily sell it to us or give it to us.
Yeah, but that's what I'm trying to get at is if you can enforce the selling of the home to you by not repossessing, but enforce it by like fining it. Like, I'll give you an example, like for the owner next to me. Everyone's, even the zoning, Boda, I forget his assistant, but they were telling me that this guy's owned the property since 2010. They kept sending letters out to him saying, you know, you need to fix this, fix that, fix this, or we're going to fine you. Nothing's ever been done about it. He said, it's just a runaround. He said, the city don't follow up on it and actually enforce it. And that's why it's got so bad with all these houses around here. And I said, yeah, 90-some houses. You know, if you find that owner and make him, you know, responsible for the house and to begin with, then you wouldn't have this issue where you're falling behind with 90 houses that need to be tore down because there's no enforcement. Like the minute I bought my house, I'll give you an example. I acquired it, I bought it within a week after me buying it because it was a distressed property. I got a letter in the mail saying, you need to put a new roof on it, you need to put siding, you need to put windows, you need to put doors in it within 45 days or we're going to fine you. Well, within the first 45 days, I've already done that. I've made it better than it was. And I got that letter and I complied with it because I was going to do it anyways. But why isn't those same type of letters enforced to the people that actually own these properties for so many years and nothing's been done about it? They're not accountable for it. And it makes no sense because you guys just let it go.
Most of the properties on the demolition list, the owners are either deceased or were unable to locate those owners. I know of the case that you're referring to with regard to not the land bank one, but the other one.
He works right down the phone, and it's in the town here.
We send our procedure is we send the notices to the address on the tax records. The address, the notices that we kept sending that owner kept being returned. As a result, we had to advertise the notice to the owner in the newspaper because we couldn't locate the owner. And it wasn't until after the advertising was completed that the owner actually called us. So when the notices were being sent out to the address on the tax records, they were being returned.
Yeah.
Well, maybe, as we announced tonight, we're going to be suing these people in court, and that gives somebody who has the wherewithal to say, hey, maybe I should dump this. So, I know in the past, we've never sued anybody. We've always just liened their property. Now we're going to sue them. If they have any capability of paying anything, we're going to sue them. So if I'm a property owner, and I know the city's going to sue me for $20,000 to tear down this house, and I got somebody willing to buy it off of me, I'd sell it to you. But maybe once that gets publicized that we're going to sue all these homeowners, maybe
Yeah, because it's just something needs to be done, because obviously somewhere along the line, someone dropped the ball and it's not being enforced.
we are going to aggressively go after all these homeowners that we believe have capability to pay. We're going to go after them. As soon as one house comes down, we're going to initiate action.
Yeah, because like I said, I'd like to have all three properties and make it all one parcel and improve it. But, like I said, with the land bank, they won't sell to me because it's got to be redone as a residential. I can't put a garage there.
Well, that's unnecessary, true, and I told you, give me your number.
And then I'm going to talk to you about the...
If you could, sir.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to speak to City Council on city business? Please come forward and state your name and address.
I'll be real quick. I'm real quick too. Hi, William Isaac, Trading Guy, Los Angeles. Okay, just public record for the question, like I mean, and Carlo, our chief, I need the policy procedure manuals. It's not in the public record request, but it'll be inclusive of that rescue. Policy procedures manual. When this gets,
This has got to go to city manager.
So that's got to go to the city manager.
okay, yeah, I'll take care of it. I'm just involved with it.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak to City Council on city business? Please come forward, state your name and address.
I don't even like anyway, I can talk. Okay, first of all, my family from Cleveland, I'm sorry. Wrong crown over, 737, here, Joe, you can hold on to that. Give that to the credit union.
Thank you, Mayor.
Wrong crown over, 737 North Fifth Street. I'm not here to criticize that anymore. I want to thank Mr. Nelson back there for the beautiful, beautiful showing of the Nutcrackers. Over to my family from Cleveland were here, and they have all over Cleveland. They said they'd never seen nothing like it. They were so proud of you. Positive, that's what we want. Positive! There it is right there. Here's another one. This piece of ground over here is going to be cleared on Sunset Boulevard. It's a positive move for Steubenville High, and I thank you all. I know there's other people involved into it, the council, the beautification committee, and so on and so forth. I do thank you as a taxpayer and citizen of Jefferson County.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak to City Council on city business? Please come forward, state your name and address.
My name is Mark Nelson, reside at 272 County Road 26. Thank you, Mr. Cronin. Something that came up in a video recently that Jerry and Judy, Jerry Brill and Judy Bratton showed down at the fort that several council people were at, and many citizens were at, approximately 60, I think, were in attendance that evening to watch the video put on by the Roger Brooks International organization. One of the things that came out in that video was from Paducah, Kentucky. It would be something for the new council to consider. But they dealt with their dilapidated structures in a unique way, and they put them up for sale to interested artists. And the interested artists had actually applied for the purchase of the house, and the purchase was even a better deal than what the credit union got. It was $1, I think, to get the house. But you only took ownership if you actually brought it to the standards that the city encouraged you to bring it to. And they helped you along that way by providing somewhere between $5,000 and $10,000 for the renovations, $2,000 for your moving expenditures, and another $5,000 for capital expenditures on the premises. You add all that up, and it's probably cheaper than tearing it down. Plus, you get a tax-paying citizen back into that house. I think one of the things that they had to do is you had to be an artist and you had to prove that you were going to turn it into some sort of an artist studio as well. So, there's some small business and entrepreneurial incubation going on there. It's something the city ought to consider. Paducah, Kentucky, I think, is now number 7 in the world in the arts and crafts movement. And it has cost the city, but again, it costs less than a demolition. Something to consider.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to speak to city council on city business? Please come forward, state their name and address. If not, before we move for adjournment, I would just like to remind everyone that next Tuesday, December 22nd, will be the last meeting of the year. We will not meet on December 29th. However, on December 28th at 3 p.m., we will have the swearing in of the 4 council members, new council members in the at-large, 1st Ward, 3rd Ward, and 5th Ward are returning Mr. Paul. And we encourage everyone to attend that. With that, Mr. Metcalf.
Your Honor, with that, for the last sunshine meeting of 2015, I move that we adjourn.
Second.
It's been ready moved and seconded that we adjourn.